The journal article I read was called Angry Responses to Infant Challenges Parent, Marital, and Child Genetic Factors Associated with Harsh Parenting. We know that children evoke reactions in parents, including harsh responses. Moreover, there is a significant amount of research that has found that positive temperament in children relates to positive parenting, and negative child temperament relates to negative parenting. That said, it's still unclear what the specific factors are that explain this relationship, and this is the focus of a 2015 study I looked at. The study read about attempts to aid research around what influences harsh parenting during infancy. Towards this effort, the study looked at the role of several factors, both environmental and genetic. The study primarily focused on determining the role of genetically influenced temperamental characteristics in infants on harsh parenting. It aimed to see if the presence of a genetically influenced negative temperament in an infant or a genetically influenced positive temperament impacted how the parent parented. For this study, a negative temperament was described by the presence of harm avoidance characteristics, which include being fearful, cautious, having negative behavior, and being shy in social situations. A positive temperament was described by attributes relating to reward dependency characteristics. Someone who has high reward dependency has a tendency towards social attachment, responsiveness to interpersonal signals, emotional warmth, and sympathy, eagerness to help others. The study hypothesized that positive temperament in an infant would be inversely related to harsh parenting, and that the presence of a negative temperament in an infant would have a positive relationship with harsh parenting. There were two other hypotheses studied that focus. One of them was focusing on the effects of marital quality of parents on the presence of harsh parental responses to infants. The researchers predicted that there was an inverse relationship between marital quality and harsh parenting. The last hypothesis looked at the relationship between temperament of parents and harsh parenting. The study predicted that negative temperament would be positively related to harsh parenting, and positive temperament in parents would be inversely related to harsh parenting. Previous studies to this one weren't able to determine whether harsh parenting was more a result of child temperament, parent temperament, or the combination of both, since they examined family sets that share genes. In order to distinguish between the specific impact of the child's genetics on parenting versus the parent's genetics, the researchers conducted the study on 9-month-old adopted infants, their adoptive parents, and their birth parents. By using adoptive parents, they were able to avoid the issue since the parent and the infant don't share the same genes. The temperament of birth parents was used to predict the temperament of the infants in the study. The participants of this study consisted of 561 sets of participants. Each included the adopted child, the adoptive parents, and the birth parents. Of the 561 sets, 503 families were used in the sample. Participants came from all over the US, and the majority of participants, both for birth families and adoptive families, were Caucasian or white. They were also all the adoptive families were heterogeneous, two-parent family households. And something to note is that the sample ended up using only birth mother measures as an index of the genetic contribution to infant characteristics because there were less than half as many birth fathers as birth mothers recruited in the study. With regards to the procedure for carrying out the study, the participants were required to complete assessments that consisted of an in-person interview and computer-assisted questionnaires. The questionnaires used for the study were completed by adoptive families when the infant was 9 months old, and the birth parents completed their questionnaires when the child was 3 and 6 months old. The questionnaires used a variety of subscales that measured constructs relating to each of the hypotheses predicted in the study. So there were questionnaires that focused on the temperament of the parents, of both birth parents and adoptive parents. There was a questionnaire that focused on infant behavior, and there was a questionnaire that focused on marital quality. So adoptive parents had to report on their marital relationship. There are several findings that researchers came away with after the study concluded. The major finding is that the results did not find that negative temperament in birth parents predicted harsh parenting in adoptive fathers. The study did find that positive temperament in birth parents related to less harsh parenting by adoptive fathers. This effect was not found for adoptive mothers. Another result was that marital equality was inversely related to harsh parenting for adoptive fathers. And the other conclusion was that negative temperament in adoptive parents positively related to harsh parenting. So in conclusion, infant genetics influences harsh parenting in fathers. This effect was not found for adoptive mothers, which means that the relationship between child temperament and the reactions it evokes in parents works differently for mothers and fathers. This research also concludes that positive family factors such as pro-social and warm marital relationships can create an environment that buffers against harsh parenting. And the last thing is that reward dependence in parents can influence adult relationships more positively. If this study were to be run again, there are a few recommendations that the researchers could consider. A limitation of the study is that the findings were based on data of mostly Caucasian heterogeneous two-parent families, so the findings may not necessarily apply to the wider public. Another limitation of the study was that it included the genetic information of only birth mothers and not birth fathers. And so I think I would do my best to recruit birth fathers so that the study can include the genetic contributions to infant characteristics of both parents. I would also have temperament assessed at different points during and after the 9 months in order to assess the stability of temperament. And I would highly recommend using other ways of gathering data. Self-report was the main way of gathering data, but in order to maybe get more reliable data, you might conduct observations. And expanding the definition of positive and negative temperament could also be something that researchers could do for future studies.